What is going on, everybody? What is going on, the Catch fam? It is Steven here, and in today's stream, we're going to do a live reaction to Bucky Brooks' 2022 NFL mock draft. He works real closely to Daniel Jeremiah, who we did a mock draft or mock the mock draft for earlier. So if you haven't already peeped that or haven't already checked that out, definitely go ahead and take a look at that one. But that was kind of one of the first things that I was already expecting, but saw first-handedly was that there were a lot of similarities in their mock drafts. They just think a lot alike. I mean, they have podcasts together. They do a lot of the scouting together. But hey, there were some differences too, and still exciting. And their perspective on the quarterback situation is a little bit different too, which is always fun. But with that said too, guys, if you're getting in this chat, we're gonna, it's gonna be a shorter one, but let me know in the chat too what's going on. We had some NFL news pop off today. Not really unexpected, but Big Ben has officially retired. So he put the cleats up. He's gonna not be with the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. Definitely opens up the door for some conversation about A-Rod going there. There was already a lot of talk and a lot of chatter about him going there, so it wouldn't totally surprise me. But also on that too, I mean, Broncos go out, they go out and hire the old Packers OC. And to me, that's a clear signal that they're going to be aggressive, right? Not to talk trash about, the Packers OC or, kind of what his status for getting a job was. But I think that really had a lot to do with let's get somebody that is going to have a close relationship with Aaron Rodgers to put us in a good position to snag him, right? In free agency. Everybody knows, right, that he is the hot commodity in this offseason. So I think, the door, while it opened up in Pittsburgh, it opened up maybe even a little bit more in Denver. So, this mock draft in particular, too, they talk about Denver, right? Kenny Pickett, Bucky Brook alludes to. So we'll see if anything shakes up there. We'll definitely have a little bit of a different perspective on who is going to be taken there. But let's get right into it. Let's get into Bucky Brooks' mock draft. Starting off at number 1, we got Evan Neal, the offensive tackle out of Alabama, man. You guys know how I feel about my man's Evan Neal. He's one of the better linemen I've seen come out recently. Very versatile guy. But more than that too, yeah, I mean, the versatility is nice. I mean, he can play left tackle, right tackle. He can even slide into guard if you absolutely need him to. But I think why I like him for the Jaguars, which is probably the most important thing, is the fact that what he's going to be able to offer them is a little bit different than what an Aiden Hutchinson's going to offer or Kayvon Thibodeau is going to offer, because what he's going to give them is protection for their biggest asset, Trevor Lawrence, right? In my first mock draft that I did, my personal mock draft, I went on the defensive side of the ball. But I love Devin Neal. I think more and more as I do more mock drafts, we're going to see a lot of my picks be at that offensive tackle spot. And there's a few of them that are really good this year. Charles Cross, Icky from NC State. Always get pronounced his last name incorrectly. He's actually going to the Jets in this one. Icky Ikwanu from NC State. I swear by the end of the scouting combine, I will know this name verbatim. I will know this in the back of my head because he's a beast. But I think he's going to be really good. Evan Neal for the Jaguars, and wouldn't be surprised at all if they took him here. And that opens up the door for at number 2, Aiden Hutchinson, edge rusher from Michigan, highly aggressive, high PFF graded pass rusher. Had one of the better seasons we've seen from Michigan in some time. A big reason for why Michigan had one of their better years in some time as well. He was a true leader, true culture guy, a dude that represents exactly what Dan Campbell wants. And I think when you look at this Detroit Lions team, I mean, they've got some young studs for sure, They got a good young building block for sure, but they gave up a shit ton of points. If A-Rod does stay in Green Bay, which there's a chance, you have to get after him. You have to get after a Kirk Cousins. You have to get after a Justin Fields, and you've got to be athletic. You got to be versatile. I think this guy's going to test well too. So I really like this dude. I think he's going to be really good for Detroit for a long time. And hey, man, gets to stay in the same city, so that'll be cool too. Houston, they're going Kayvon Thibodeau. So very chalky in the first three picks. Evan Neal, Kayvon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson. We're going to see these threes probably be those top three blue chip prospects probably for some time, right? Unless there's some shakeup at the Senior Bowl and ahead of the scouting combine. But wouldn't be surprised at all if we see these three go on draft night. And I think Houston makes a really good pick here. I like Houston for Evan Neal or Kayvon Thibodeau a lot here. I think Kayvon Thibodeau, he kind of reminds me of a Mario Williams when they grabbed him back in the day, as opposed to what they could have gotten Reggie Bush. But he's got really big upside here. Bucky talks about him having boomer bust feel. I don't really agree to that. I think that his run D is going to give him a strong floor, as well as the fact that he had 3 years of solid production at Oregon, is going to really be able to give a consistent feel to his game. And then further than that, too, just the upside of this guy's pass rush, if it can really click, if it can get some good coaching, is right there, right? This is a difference in mock drafts between Bucky's and Daniel Jeremiah's. As Daniel Jeremiah went Kyle Hamilton here, I think there's some merit to that for sure. I mean, Kyle Hamilton is a very Patriot player, safety player, back end, and New England has valued that position over time. For me personally, I don't see them reaching for a low value position in a safety position. I see them going after one of the top blue chip prospects in this draft to start and pair up at that defensive end position. At number 4, we got the New York Jets with Ike Ekwonu from the offensive tackle from NC State. This dude is the best run blocking lineman in the draft. These linemen are kind of split differently, right? I would almost say Evan Neal is probably the most balanced lineman in this draft, and then Icky is the best run blocker. Charles Cross is probably the best pass blocker. That's how I would kind of split out that top 3 lineman class here at the offensive tackle position. And I think Icky would slide in really nice here for the Jets. Wouldn't necessarily be what I would do for them. I mean, I kind of like them going defense here or potentially going at, maybe actually I would stay on the defense side. I mean, you've got corner needs. You've got Kyle Hamilton still being there too. And then you can also go in the pass rush, right? So they got another pick in the top 10. So maybe they address the pass rush. But I think when you go and reach for number 4 here at OT, you can come back later, get another highly graded offensive lineman. And you drafted Becton last season. Get it. He got hurt, but he's a really good stud player. And if he loses some weight, gets healthy over the offseason, he's going to come back. They talked about Morgan Moses in this article too, if they can sign him back. And they drafted another rookie lineman last year as well, right? So I get it. It's probably the most like, I don't know, important thing to do right now is to build around Zach Wilson, give him protection, give him some help. And you would need an athletic guy too. You need a guy with good feet because Zach Wilson is a scrambler, right? He's not a pocket passer necessarily. He can do that, but he also likes to use his feet. I mean, that's something that really separates his game. So Icky, again, I'm not too sure he would be that guy for me. And I would also look at Charles Cross being a better pass protector, who goes at number 5 to the New York Giants here. I love Icky for the Giants for sure, just in terms of fit, being on that run blocking scheme. I think he's a great play for them, but Charles Cross is also, right? And you have to help out Daniel Jones. The GM, honestly, basically just came out and said it, right? Daniel Jones is our guy for the season, and we need to build for him. I saw another article come out and say, we've done just about everything to ruin Daniel Jones, right? I think they believe in this guy, and I think that they know what they've done to him, and that gives him a little bit of confidence, right? Because we get it. Shit kind of sucks. I mean, when you're the Giants quarterback and things aren't going well, New York's a massive market, and you could really, really get the heat quickly if you don't play well. And Daniel Jones hasn't been great. For fantasy, he's been, relevant at times, but in terms of a real quarterback for your squad, he's definitely been one of the weaker assets in the NFC East. So I think Charles Cross comes in there. He absolutely helps them out. And they got another pick coming up here too. What's up, Jerry? How you doing, my guy? Thanks for jumping in here. Appreciate you coming into the chat, hitting us with this random stream. Yeah, man, I talked about maybe dropping a stream, tonight, and I'm trying to relax a little bit later, trying to get to bed early. I talked about how I might be a little sick last night's stream, and I think I am sick, so I am going to get some good shut-eye today. But had to come in here and talk to you guys for a little bit. Oz Omnipotent, nice like and sub for Dubs. Yeah, guys, if you are in this chat, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, become a part of the Catch fam. And if you're watching this retrospectively, hit the like button, hit the sub button, become a part of the Catch fam. But also leave some comments retrospectively about your favorite prospects or your favorite team, and we will get back to you on who we think your team should go after this year. Jerry, how was your day going so far, right? West Coast time. What is it, 3 o'clock over there right now? Number 6, we got the Carolina Panthers going Ahmad Gardner corner for Cincinnati. And don't get this wrong here when I talk about how, because Ahmad Gardner is amazing, dude. He's one of my favorite players in this draft, but I don't like this pick at all. I don't know why him and Daniel Jeremiah are so sold on them doing this. It's weird, right? They've got Stephon Gilmore, J.C. Horn, C.J. Henderson, Dante Jackson. I mean, they got a lot of players. I mean, I get it. They might be losing Dante Jackson and Stephon Gilmore, but they've got a ton of really good assets already in Carolina. This is not a need. Last year, they had a really good corner crew too, and they still didn't win anything. And you could be saying, all right, well, you've got a couple really competitive offenses in that division. Let's limit them. Well, Tom Brady might not be back, right? This Saints team is rebuilding. I mean, there are some real question marks about the offenses even. I think this is a year as well with Matt Rule where he needs a big play to happen, needs to be on the offensive side. You need to turn that around. The defense wasn't the big concern in Carolina, right? We got to turn around the offense. Biggest need is on the offensive lineman position, whether it's a tackle or a guard. I think that would, either way, it would help, or quarterback, right? Or quarterback. I actually had them taking a quarterback just because I think Mr. Matt Rule is going to be super, super desperate. New York Giants, with their second pick in the top 10, go out and grab David Ojabo from edge rusher from Michigan. This is a dude who, I get it, he doesn't have a ton of tape on him. He actually didn't even start playing until I think like a few years ago. Like he's like his junior year in high school or something. I mean, this guy is very raw, but we see that every year. I feel like we see that exact scenario every year where a guy doesn't play football for like the majority of his life and then plays, and he's just such a freak athlete that he ends up being a first-round draft pick. And I think that's exactly what we're going to see in David Ojabo. His upside is massive, really high ceiling play, but he does have a lower floor than his teammate Aiden Hutchinson, which is why he's a little bit farther down. What's interesting is kind of when this whole mock draft process started, the Giants were a strong play for George Karlaftis, right? Who's a much more proven high production player. But then you've seen kind of David Ojabo, somebody with less production for sure, but way twitchier, kind of take his spot here. So I like this play. I actually had the Giants doing this as well in my mock draft. So some similarities in our thought between me and Bucky Brooks, which doesn't surprise me because of how much I love Daniel Jeremiah. Atlanta Falcons go Derek Stingley, corner from LSU. You know what, guys? This is not a bad pick for sure. I mean, I think the Falcons would be happy with this. Pair him up with AJ Terrell. I will say this. Everything I'm hearing right now is that Derek Stingley is not a top corner in anybody's boards right now. People are worried about this dude. He obviously riddled with injuries, in his career, seemed uninterested a large portion of his career at LSU too. I mean, the guy has elite athleticism, elite techniques, technicals. The guy could be a shutdown corner for sure in this division, could be a shutdown corner in the NFL. And that is a very, very valuable thing for any team. But I'm just not too sure Derek Stingley's got the mindset for it or the production because of how often he was just not on the field for LSU. So just in terms of like kind of the guy's skills, I think he's gonna light it up if he participates and everything at the combine. I think he's gonna light it up there because of his hips and just his speed and his athleticism. But I think people are gonna not be impressed with what he showed over the course of his career at LSU. Denver Broncos here going Kenny Pickett at quarterback. I talked about a little bit earlier when alluding to the fact that I think Aaron Rodgers going to Denver might be even higher of a likelihood with them going and grabbing the old Packers OC. Think that was an absolute strategy to get Aaron Rodgers into Denver. It's just so fitting, right? So fitting. Peyton Manning used to do that, or he went to Denver to finish out his career. They've got a history for going after quarterbacks on the back end of their careers. Still a superstar though, A-Rod, not the back end in any sort of negative light. But Kenny Pickett here, just to talk a little bit about him. I like him a lot. I think he's got a really good senior season. He had a really good career in terms of he had a lot of production to go back and review and to see if you were confident about him. So that's one thing Kenny Pickett really offers that not all the other prospects do, is that he played for a long time as a redshirt senior. And I think that does matter to a certain extent, that you've got a lot of film people can go back and look at. And I think Kenny Pickett, because he was a Heisman candidate in his senior year, that's obviously also a big boost to his status. He led this Pittsburgh team to a well-improved season, kind of a surprise, honestly, of how good they were. And I think Kenny Pickett would be an absolute improvement over a guy like a Drew Lock or even a Teddy Bridgewater. So while I don't have a lot of confidence in this draft class, I do think Kenny Pickett would still be an improvement. And I think the Denver Broncos, with all those assets, I mean, we saw it last night on the stream, right? Javonte Williams, the number one fantasy projected running back for PFF. And that's not to mention all the receivers they have. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Noah Fant. List goes on. I mean, they got tons of guys. KJ Hamler. Uh, at a certain point, all the options out there just really help you out there. New York Jets back on the clock. Number 10, they go Garrett Wilson, wide receiver from Ohio State. Very, very good receiver. Probably going to run in the 4.4s, maybe low 4.5s. Not the fastest out of the two receivers coming out of Ohio State this year. I'll put that belt to Chris Olave, who I like a lot. But, man, Garrett Wilson, a lot of comps I've heard on this guy is that he is going to be OBJ-esque, right? Very good catcher, very smooth route runner. And I like that about him, obviously. But I also think pairing him up with Zach Wilson allows this guy to get more assets to throw it to. And you pair that up with also investing another draft pick on the O-line. It's super valuable, right, guys? And we can say it over and over in our heads, right, that quarterback position is the most important, but sometimes it's not just about the quarterback. Sometimes it's also about the situation, right? So let's put our quarterbacks in better situations. And I think that's what the Giants and the Jets need to do with their first two picks in the first round, because they've got those two assets that are really highly valuable. I will say, though, just before moving on and getting to the chat real briefly, the Jets have been rumored to be in trade discussions with a Calvin Ridley. And for me personally, I wouldn't do that if I were them. I just think Calvin Ridley's an older asset, a year removed from football, going to have a big contract that they're going to have to sign a year from now, which also sucks. I mean, you really just don't need to do that as an NFL GM, because so many receivers year over year come out of the draft and can totally change your offense. And I think Garrett Wilson has that type of skill set. So for me, build on guys like Elijah Moore, bring back Corey Davis, have Jeremiah Crowder to still help you out there, and then bring in a guy like Garrett Wilson who can be a 1A type of receiver for the Jets. Get to the chat real quick. All right, day so far, just getting ready to do some homework. Is Brady retiring after the season? I pray Brady retires now. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I will say this. I've been following Brady for a long time, and this is probably like the first time I've ever really felt that it might be when he hangs up the cleats. There's just a lot of stuff in the sand that says that this is going to be a perfect year for him to do it. We'll see if he does, though. We'll see if he does. I mean, you know, Brady. He's very competitive. I could see him also coming back and saying, this is my last year, right? But Tampa Bay is not in a great position. They're very crippled by salary cap limitations as well. So it's like if Brady's already 1 foot in, 1 foot out, his best buddy Gronk is looking like he might not come back. Why am I going to go throw myself back out there if I'm, not going to be able to give 100% to my team and they also are going to be in a pretty bad spot? I mean, they might be in a bad spot even if Brady's back next year. So a lot of things pointing to the fact that he might not be around at quarterback, which really is going to have some major implications on this draft as well. So who knows? I do think just like Aaron Rodgers, he'll probably come out sooner than later just for the benefit of his current team. Don't the Eagles have a bunch of first-round picks? I hope Brady wins the Super Bowl and retires on top. What a story. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way he wants to go out for sure. I think he even said that. I mean, just like his, old rival Peyton Manning. But sometimes, it's hard to do. And I mean, the way he could go out this time is that he led one of the craziest comebacks and it ended, unfortunately, against the Rams. But he had a chance to win that game, which would have been nuts. Are you a Colts fan as well, Jane Scott? If so, kind of sucks they lost to the Jags. Yes, but mostly a Broncos fan. Root for Colts otherwise. Sad day. Yes, sad day. Yeah, she'll root for the Colts on my behalf, but she's definitely a Broncos fan. Her and John are Broncos fans sticking through. Although John will kind of lean over to the Washington football team, maybe the Admirals pretty soon, and the Colts as well. Spencer, sup, dummy? What is up, buddy? How you doing, my guy? Glad you're in here, man. Glad you're in here. What do you think about the old Packers OC, Nathaniel Hackett, leaving to become the Broncos head coach? You think that means anything about Aaron Rodgers? Washington football team up here at number 11, Matt Corral, quarterback for Ole Miss, second quarterback off Bucky Bruck's board, going to the Washington football team. I mean, I do think they're going to grab a quarterback here. I like Malik Willis from Liberty for them. I think he fits the scheme, but I also think Matt Corral fits the scheme too. RPO specialist, smaller frame guy, though. Definitely concerns about injuries. But I think Matt Corral's got a really good arm. He was the top quarterback prospect for a large portion of the season, though, too. So I think he'd be really good for Washington. And I definitely think they're going to invest at the quarterback position this year in the draft, even if it's a shittier class. And Matt Corral is kind of like an upgrade at Tyler Heineke. He is an improvement from Taylor Heineke for sure. Minnesota Vikings take George Karlaftis. What is going on here? This happens all the time. The support assist. Get out of here. Get out of here. George Karlaftis, edge rusher from Purdue, junior, big boy for sure. He's like 6'3", 240, 250. The guy's built like a shit brick house. I saw a comp to him to Courtney Upshaw, the old Alabama prospect, Baltimore Raven. The dude had a pretty good career. I think he also played in New England as well. I don't know if I totally love that comp, to be honest. I think George Karlaftis is a little bit better. I like his hustle. I like his, aggression. And I like the fact that this dude is going to be a bull rusher for sure. And he's a guy who can probably swing around at spots on the D line as well. He's a versatile rusher. He's not one of the higher athleticism guys, though. So I think that's why he's going to fall. I mean, I had in some mock drafts him falling all the way to the 20s. The Vikings, though, they could use a pass rusher for sure here. I like them more for the corner position, but, George Karlaftis could be a big-time player. Cleveland Browns go Drake London, wide receiver from USC, probably one of my favorite receivers in this draft. I had him actually going in the top 10 in one of my mock drafts. Big boy, Mike Evans type of dude. Also a Michael Pittman, Mike Williams, or some other comps I've seen for this guy. Amazing hands. He can just play it like a center. I know Jerry's in the chat, so he's like a LeBron James when you try to cover this guy. He's going to body you. He's going to use his big frame to go and muscle that ball down. And I think that's exactly what the Cleveland Browns could use as another big body receiver to improve the chances that Baker Mayfield can actually prove his worth, right? They've already got a strong line, right? So let's give some tools. Let's give some assets for a guy like Drake, like a Baker Mayfield to really prove it because his contract's coming up. This is go time, right? This is go time for the Browns. NFL article came out yesterday, talking about how the Browns and the Ravens are two of the teams that can really turn this shit around and potentially be in the playoffs. I mean, shit, the Browns were a Super Bowl contender last season before the shitty result. But losing OBJ, seeing what OBJ's been doing with the Rams, I know that hurts them. Let's pair him up. You got Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's a really good player. I think he's actually really he's better than I thought he was going to be coming out of Michigan. Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's another big body. You got Jarvis Landry in the slot. So I definitely like Drake London here as a pick. Baltimore Ravens going Tyler Linderbaum, center from Iowa. I forget who Daniel Jeremiah had here for the Ravens. I think it was another offensive lineman. I want to say he had Charles Cross going here. I like Tyler Linderbaum a lot. I mean, he might be the best interior offensive lineman coming off this draft. He's not as versatile as a Kenyon Green from Texas A&M, but Tyler Linderbaum is a absolute animal in the middle. And he could definitely come into this Ravens team, add more consistency for Lamar Jackson in this run game with J.K. Dobbins coming back and really improve this offense for sure. It talks about how, you got to replace a guy like Bradley Bozeman who's coming to free agency. Let's get cheaper. Let's get healthier on the O-line. And I think it could start at Tyler Linderbaum. I like this pick for the Ravens. Number 15, the first of many draft picks for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jerry alluded to it earlier. Philadelphia Eagles going Kyle Hamilton, safety from Notre Dame. Holy shit, man. I love this pick so much. I love this pick. I have not seen Kyle Hamilton go this far in many mock drafts, but I tell you what, this is a possibility, guys. Minkah Fitzpatrick, an absolute stud as well. He slid. We've seen safety slide. Derwin James, I believe, slid as well. I mean, there's a lot of strong safeties, a lot of good safeties that we knew coming out of college were going to be dominant, who slid in the draft. I could see this happening. And if I'm the Eagles, I would love if Ronald were in the chat to give his thoughts on what this would be like, because I think he'd be pumped. This guy's a game changer, right? This guy can really control the back end of that defense. He can play the run for sure, but he's also a very good pass defender. He can come in there, get some. He had 3 picks before the injury this season. Don't worry, it wasn't a crazy injury. Just something he was able to heal up, and he'll be ready to go for this season. But I love Kyle Hamilton for the Eagles at number 15 if they do snag him. I just want to say people with SS initials are elite. Thank you, Spencer. Yeah, I'm trying to think about maybe some other ones. I do know Steven Scott. He's an interesting guy. Where does Adams end up at? I think Adams, it doesn't matter about Aaron Rodgers to a certain extent because they kind of own him. As sad as that is to say, teams can sometimes own certain players. And when you're not a quarterback, sometimes you have a little bit of a limited voice, and he can get franchise tagged, and it's probably about a wrap. He's going to be a Packer next year, although I have heard a lot of whispers about the Las Vegas Raiders as well. I guess him and Derek Carr have a pretty close relationship. And not really. Coaches leave all the time for different positions. If Rodgers decides to enter the free agency portal, then I could see Rodgers and Adams moving to Denver. I mean, that would be crazy if Adams also went to the team. That would be nuts. I mean, what the hell? They would just be so stacked. On a fantasy perspective, you couldn't even draft any of the receivers because they just have way too many mouths to feed. But Aaron Rodgers, I mean, geez, it'd be fantasy pick number, 1. No, not number 1, but he would be probably up there with top 2 or 3 quarterbacks to draft. If Spencer loses Adams and Rodgers, I'll have a good laugh. It would be devastating for the team. Packers, would absolutely have to embrace a rebuild, and that is not really in their franchise history, so that would suck. Who knows? Maybe Jordan Love will actually maybe practice. He seems to not really practice because he obviously isn't doing well. I mean, you got to improve at some point. And I've never heard any good things about him in practice, and I've never seen anything good about him in games. But I think Rodgers is likely to stay, though, as long as they can fix their cap deal structures. Yeah, it's going to be tough, though, because I don't think Adams nor Rodgers is going to take a pay cut. I just feel like Rodgers is not that kind of guy. I mean, not that kind of guy, especially he's not a Brady-esque type of player who's going to take a lower deal for the rest of his team. Number 16, Philadelphia Eagles take Treylon Burks, wide receiver, Arkansas. I mean, dude, is Bucky Brooks like an obsessed with, the Eagles? Because these are amazing picks. Treylon Burks, Debo Samuel-esque, AJ Brown-esque. This guy is one of my favorite players in this draft just because of, I think this dude's athleticism paired up with his size, paired up with his production and the way he was used, puts him in a position to be the best receiver coming off the board, guys. I love him. I love his skill set. Eagles, pair him up with a guy like Devontae Smith. Use him in an offense that already uses the receiver position in multiple ways, focuses a lot on the run game. I think he's a really good fit here, actually. One of the better fits I've seen in other mock drafts. Los Angeles Chargers go Trevor Penning, offensive tackle. Similar strategy to what kind of we saw with the Chargers and the Jets. Build around your big asset, right? Same with the Jags, right? Build around your big asset and your quarterback. Obviously, Justin Herbert is leaps and bounds above better than the Giants, Jags, and Jets quarterback situation. But they were invested a lot in Rashawn Slater last year. He panned out with absolute dividends. I mean, he was amazing. You bring another lineman on, you can help out the run game, help out the pass game with this guy because he can play right tackle. Senior redshirt at Northern Iowa, a smaller school, but man, I'm telling you, all the buzz I hear about this guy, he could be a top 10 pick. He could be a top 10 pick. This is a guy who in the Senior Bowl definitely should be watching. This is a dude that, right now I've seen a lot in the 20s, but absolutely could be a top 10 pick by the end of the Senior Bowl. Saints going Chris Olave, wide receiver for Ohio State. With Sean Payton being out, I mean, I do think that they need to improve here. I mean, I liked Chris Olave for the Saints before Sean Payton was gone. Now with Sean Payton being gone, you're looking at maybe Dennis Allen taking over as head coach, who I like a lot on the defense side. You're looking at a lot of players, a lot of coaches, a lot of things changing up, a lot of things that we thought were going to be consistent for the season are not going to be there. So tied up in salary cap issues. So I get it. I get getting cheaper at the receiver position. And good golly, if they lose Michael Thomas, I mean, this is an absolute need. So they need to figure that shit out before the draft even happens, right? They need to figure out what they're doing in receiver, either with Michael Thomas or free agency before they get to this draft situation. And if you can bring back Michael Thomas and bring back the other guys, I would actually say at this point, because you're in such a rebuild, you either consider drafting one of these quarterbacks or trading out just to get more capital to invest in a younger spot, to just get younger all across the board and really embrace this rebuild. Because, you bring in a guy like Chris Olave, who I love, right? I'm just not too sure it really makes them that big of a difference. If you get a guy like Michael Thomas back, he's going to really bolster up this receiving core. I mean, honestly, the receiving core for the Saints has really been dependent on Michael Thomas for the past 3 or 4 years, right? And it was good before he left. So I like this pick, but I also think there's a couple other methods the Saints can do as a team. 19, Eagles come back here and they take Jermaine Johnson, the second edge rusher from Florida State. I like this. I do think they need to get younger. I think they need to reinvest in the front. I think they need to get some more pass rushers there. And I don't mind this, right? I don't mind getting Jermaine Johnson. I think he's kind of like a bulldog. When I think of Jermaine, he's just a dude who is built like a shit brick house too, just like George Karlaftis is. But there is a little bit of a difference in these guys. I'm not loving this dude's tape as much. I haven't seen a ton of mock drafts with him going in the first round. I see him much more as a second round grade guy. It doesn't mean he can't be a first round grade guy though. After the Senior Bowl, there's going to be a lot of things develop on him for sure. Definitely going to be keeping an eye on Johnson at the Senior Bowl. He's one of the dudes I have flagged coming off the edge there, and he could really prove himself there. But they do have to get over Brandon Graham. Me personally, at the Eagles here, you got Devin Lloyd. You got Nakobe Dean here. I would take a linebacker. That's a massive need for the Eagles. But they've really sacrificed at the linebacker position over the years. Number 20, last pick I'll go over before getting into the chat. We got Trayvon Walker, defensive lineman from Georgia. So, as opposed to Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks has not been concentrated on just Georgia prospects. Junior D lineman, he could fit this Steelers' strengths. I don't like this pick, though, to be honest. Ben Roethlisberger stepping down. He's out. you've got a clear quarterback need, but you've got an even bigger offensive lineman need. I mean, Kenyon Green is still there. Interior guard that can really play tackle or center too. I mean, the guy is an absolute steal of a pick here. You've got other linemen as well that you can go out and get, like Rashawn Bernstein. I don't see the Pittsburgh Steelers gravitating away from either the lineman position or the quarterback position on the offensive side. Let's see here. Get into the chat real quick, guys. Let's see. All right. That's why Brady's the go. Are there any Najee Harris or Chase type of players this year? Yeah, so I'm actually going to get into right after I do this mock draft. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Senior Bowl running backs to keep an eye on. Unfortunately, at the running back position, I wouldn't say there's a ton of guys that I've really got my eyes on that are going to be to the level of Najee Harris. And at the receiver position, it's all about where they go, right? We'll have a little bit more of a fantasy implication type of look at these dudes once they get drafted. I'll say this: Jamison Williams, the receiver that got banged up for Alabama. Keep a close eye on this guy because this could be a dude that he's going to miss some time because of the knee injury, but when he comes back, he is that type of guy. He is a absolute burner. And so if you can get him in a dynasty league for cheap, I mean, holy shit, fantasy implications out the roof. But also, if you can get him and just kind of put him on IR or something, I think that's also going to be a really good strategy there. But yeah, I mean, there's other guys. I mean, I like Garrett Wilson, the receiver, a lot from Ohio State. If Chris Olave gives the right fit, that could also be good. I like Drake London, the receiver for USC. I really think he's a good prospect. I think Jahan Dotson, the interior receiver who's got probably the best hands in the draft, he's probably going to wind up on one of the better teams just because of where he's going to more likely get drafted. And I think that's going to put him in a good spot. And then Treylon Burks, I think he has a chance to probably have maybe the biggest impact just because of if they use him the way he was used in college. The Steelers really should take him. Bucky is their guy. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, Trayvon Walker is a good prospect. I like him. I just don't know if you go defensive lineman here. I mean, they got Cameron Hayward. They got a good, strong D line. That was definitely not the weakest part of them. And you got TJ Watt coming off the edge too. But I get it. You be able to do more there, improve at your strength rather than improve at your weaknesses. Definitely arguments for both. New England Patriots. So I just talked about a linebacker here. Pats go Devin Lloyd, the most versatile, and I maybe talked a little bit of shit about his leadership in general at first when I started looking at this guy. Then I start really reading more, listening to more about this dude. He's actually, some have said, maybe even a better leader than the Kobe Dean, right? So this guy, absolute stud. He fits this scheme like a Swiss Army knife. I mean, this guy can do so much, and he was an absolute Patriots player here. I think they could really, really just add some more talent to the linebacker position. You got to go. You know what? I mean, like you could look at the corner spot. They definitely could grab a guy like Ron McCreary, corner for Auburn. But for me personally, when I look at that Bills game, how the Bills just shit on them left and right, you got to get a guy that can go chase you down, Josh Allen, and go cover a guy like Dawson Knox, or go cover a guy like Gabriel Davis and Stephon Diggs. And then that is what Devin Lloyd does because he can play all three downs. He can chase down your linebacker or your quarterback, and he can play some pass coverage too. Las Vegas Raiders go Jordan Davis, defensive tackle for Georgia. This guy is getting mocked left and right to the Chargers, but goes to a rival here in the division to the Raiders. I think they've got some other needs for sure. Then the defensive tackle spot, but it's funny because on the fantasy side of things, that was probably what drew our eyes, John and I's eyes, to the weakness at the run game most with this Raiders team early. But then they really started to get kind of improved towards the back end and towards the playoffs. So I think Jordan Davis would be an absolute gem for them to get. He had limited snap count in college, but don't let that kind of discredit the skill this dude has. I think he would be an absolute beast for them. I just think that at the corner position, there's a ton of dudes. I mean, Bucky Brooks does not have a lot of corners going so far. And there's a ton of guys right now that I would take, and so that's, I think, a way bigger need for this Raiders team. I mean, especially with freaking Damon Arnett. And I mean, they had some, I think Hobbs, even, who was their young guy who they just lost to because of off the field shit. If I'm the Raiders, I need to invest at corner. I need to invest on the line. I need to invest at the receiver position to give Carr some help. I mean, there's a lot to invest at, but I don't know if the defensive interior is the highest value spot here. And there's some really good guys too that you can get that are a little bit more versatile in the second round. Arizona Cardinals going Trent McDuffie here, corner. This is exactly who I was talking about, actually. Trent McDuffie, corner from Washington, is the absolute guy I would have taken for the Raiders. If he's still available, I don't think the Raiders let this guy go, especially with Mike Mayock and John Gruden not being there anymore. They're not going to make any more questionable, boneheaded draft picks, hopefully, right? So I think Trent McDuffie here makes a ton of sense. He might be my second favorite corner in this draft. In fact, he is my second favorite corner in this draft. I love the fact that he'll come up and beat the shit out of you. He'll hit you. He'll hit you in the mouth. He comes down and tackles, and he also is a very good corner. Him and his teammate Kyle Gordon, were two of the best corners in the game. They were really elite for this Washington team. Washington has produced corners left and right. They've been really good at coaching up secondary over the past 5 years. So you can look back at history, look back at a network, and say, okay, that they have shown me that they are really valuable at doing that, right? We do that kind of with like receivers and corners. We say like, all right, LSU, like they produce a lot of corners and receivers, right? We look at Ohio State, they produce some edge rushers, right? We look for a while, they also produce some running backs. Alabama, they produce running. Well, Alabama produces everything, but you guys know what I mean, right? I mean, certain schools are really good at producing certain types of players. In Washington, this is just another guy coming out. I think Daniel Jeremiah had his teammate Kyle Gordon going in the first round too. I mean, that's the kind of skill these guys have. What is interesting about Washington and Trent McDuffie is he was one of the highest graded guys, and also was really good at limiting yards. But at the same time too, he was also tested probably like, I think he was tested 200 times less than, like, they had 200 passing attempts less than Ahmad Gardner, the corner for Cincinnati. And that just, shows for me that they just had a lot of confidence in those guys. The quarterbacks opposing them were kind of scared to go after them. Dallas Cowboys, Kenyon Green, offensive guard. I talked about it a lot in this mock draft, right? Where is this guy going? And finally, he goes to the Dallas Cowboys. I think this is something that they would love to have. I had him going right around this area in my mock drafts. I think it was to Cincinnati, though. I like this pick for them for sure. It allows them to get stronger at a place that it's needed. I've seen in some mock drafts them go at a receiver, go at a corner, go at a linebacker, and it's like, I get it. The Cowboys have a very deep roster, but this one actually makes sense. And you're getting a guy who's very versatile. So injuries happen throughout the year. Kenyon Green offers you something that not all the other guys in this draft can, which is we can plug and play at different positions. Number 25, Buffalo Bills. Talked about him earlier. Roger McCreary, corner for Auburn, senior. Dude loves baked beans. Listen to an amazing interview about that. If you have not heard it, check it out. But yeah, Buffalo corner. They've got a good corner crew. PFF actually ranked them number 1 this year, but you can always get better. Tre'Davious White coming off an injury, so we'll see how he comes back. That was a devastating knee injury. But this is a great comp for him, Tre'Davious White and Roger McCreary. And if you can really bolster up that corner crew, that does so much, right? This is the second most valuable position in football outside of the quarterback position, and you got defensive end there too. But when I look at the Bills and what they need to do, their only competitor right now in my mind is the Chiefs, right? It's been that way for a couple of years, right? The Chiefs have been their rival, their kind of dude that they need to knock off. And I think Roger McCreary comes in here and he does that for you. He helps you a lot here, and more than any other guy that you can get right now at this point in the draft. He does it the most, but I also think this is a guy, like, literally after the Senior Bowl could be a top 15 pick. I mean, he has that kind of swagger to him. Like, people are going to love this guy at the Senior Bowl. Get to the chat here real quick. Got the pepperoni pizza and marble cookie brownie from Domino's. Going to be a good night. Wow, that sounds amazing, dude. I tell you what, I was going to get wings tonight And I don't know. I don't know. That pizza sounds really good. I might have to do that. Pepperoni pizza is amazing, guys. And I had that marble cookie brownie from well, not that marble cookie brownie, but I had one very similar from Papa John's. That was good too. That was good too. Although it took like 80 minutes for me to get it. Literally 80 minutes. I was really pissed off about that. The 5.99 deals are dangerous. Dude, let me just say this, guys. If I didn't have people to cook for me all the time, I would be the heaviest dude in the world. Like I would be so fat because in college, like I would eat like disgustingly. Like I would just order gross stuff, go out, eat cookout. If you guys are in the southeast, you know what that is. So those 5.99 deals, bro, you can get a lot for them. You take one bite out of them, and the next thing you know, you're 4 pieces in. Up there with Wendy's 4 for oh my gosh, bro, the Wendy's 4 for 4, dude. That's literally what I lived off in college. My buddy introduced me to the 4 for 4, and I got so hip to that, dude. And I tell you what, Wendy's as well. I had one bad experience with Wendy's, but outside of that, I love it. I used to get the bacon cheeseburger. I'm really weird about my burgers, right? Because I hate mayonnaise. Hate it, guys. So I just get bacon, cheese, lettuce, tomato, onion. Take the tomato off. I don't even know why I order it. But it's amazing. So Wendy's, shout out. Oh, and the Frosty too. Oh my gosh, dude. Yes. All right. Shake my head. That 5.99 deal will have you eating brownies, pizza, and a sub sandwich all in one setting. It's amazing. I mean, the only other place you can get much better is McDonald's or Taco Bell, maybe. Pray, what is up, brother? How you doing, my man? Just went over the Cowboys basically once you got in here. So hopefully you didn't leave once we were doing that. Burger King 10-piece nuggets for 149 is a good deal. That's good too. Burger King is a little bit hated on, right? I feel like Burger King doesn't get the respect it deserves. I don't trust BK. Steven, you said you were having Wingstop tonight. So I'm having wings. It's kind of a hodgepodge of where I'm going to get it. So you guys can make the pick. I don't have a Wingstop near me. I have Buffalo Wild Wings. I have it's a franchise, so I guess you guys might know about it. It's called Glory Days, but it's kind of a local bar. Another local bar is another option. And then Velocity Wings. So let me know if you guys have any thoughts there. Obviously, I always want to support the local businesses, but I also care a lot about the taste. All right, guys, let's get into the next 5. Tennessee Titans going Jahan Dotson, wide receiver from Penn State. I like him a lot. I talked about him a little bit earlier. This is a guy who might have the best fantasy season just because of where he goes. He's going to go in this 25 to 32 range for sure. And after the Senior Bowl, I think he's going to be able to prove to a lot of people he deserves exactly that, to be a first-round talent, despite the fact he's not the biggest guy, but he's got the best hands and very good route running. Some of the best, actually, in this draft. So something that would really bolster up this Tennessee Titans team. Absolute need. And you got to help out Ryan Tannehill because I don't know if he's the fit. We could potentially see a quarterback go here. But I like bringing in a guy like Jahan Dotson to help him out. I mean, fucking Julio Jones, if he even comes back, right? Tampa Bay Bucks, Khair Elam, corner for Florida. Yeah, I think this is a need for sure. I think it's scary because sometimes you look at teams that just had struggles at a position and you say, all right, got to draft there, right? And they were so banged up. It's like, were they needy there or was it just the fact that they were banged up? It's kind of like the Ravens too, right? But I do think you can get better there. Me personally, in my mock drafts, I had them going Jahan Dotson, obviously not available in this one, but I see them going receiver here too, just because the fact that they might lose Chris Godwin. And I think if they do get Tom Brady back, you got to do something to help him out in terms of weapons. And I think that's a perfect fit for them is getting a receiver, right? You got a couple other guys too, like Pickett from Georgia, Bell from Purdue. I mean, you got some other guys there too who can come in there and help at the receiver position. But I think Elam, corner from Florida, he's a bigger guy, and he definitely has, just like this article says, those really good cover skills. So he could fit that. It's just going to be really interesting to see what the Bucs do. It's all really dependent on Tom Brady. Number 28, here we go, Spencer. Oh my gosh, Spence. Are you in the chat, dude? Holy shit, man. You just talked about this pick. You just talked about this pick, and this is what happens. DeMarvin Leal, defensive lineman from Texas A&M Junior. So when I did my mock draft the first time, Spencer was in here, and he talked about this exact pick. He said DeMarvin Leal, if he's still there, he's going to the Green Bay Packers, and that's what happens here. And this article says right here, ultra athlete, athleticism, versatility. That's like the best way you could sum up DeMarvin Leal. Spencer, he brought him up. I didn't have him. It challenged me. I went back and I looked into this guy. This dude is exactly what they need. This guy is exactly what they need. I mean, obviously, you can make arguments at the receiver position. You could grab the tight end from Colorado State, McBride, who's a beast, and help out, Aaron Rodgers if he comes back. But for me personally, I'm getting younger. I'm getting more versatile and athletic on the defensive line, getting a guy like DeMarvin Leal. In this rebuild, maybe you build defensive heavy, which I already think you've got a lot of really good pieces. But Leal could be one of the better prospects coming after the draft after I looked at this guy, just because you look at him, he is an interior lineman, but he can play on the outside and he can also pass rush and get after the run. And that's different from a guy like Jordan Davis. It's different than Trayvon Walker at times too. I mean, he's kind of like Wyatt, DeAndre Wyatt for Georgia as well. I like Wyatt a lot for the Packers too. When I first started looking into college prospects, he was a guy who stood out to me. So I think Wyatt or Leal are really good for the Packers here. So shout out Spencer for figuring that out. Cincinnati Bengals, Bernard Raymond, offensive tackle for the Central Michigan. Small school guy, senior. He's going to have a chance to prove himself at the Senior Bowl and really kind of elevate his stock. Because this is such a offensive tackle heavy draft. I mean, honestly, one of the heavier offensive lineman drafts I've seen in a couple years, which is always good. I like the offensive lineman position because it's very valuable and it also is more sure than some other guys when you're taking dart throws at quarterback every year, right? But this guy absolutely would bolster up the Bengals. That's the clear need. I mean, we saw freaking Joe Burrow get sacked 9 times against the Tennessee Titans. That just can't happen. I was scared. I talked about the fact that I thought Joe Burrow could be Andrew Luck. I mean, I don't want this to happen to my guy, Joe Burrow. We all love Joe Burrow. Jerry's talking about Jamar Chase, looking at prospects like him in this draft. Guys, we got to make sure Jamar Chase is good next year, man. Holy crap, he's my dynasty pick. I got to have Jamar Chase next year. Bring in Bernard Raymond. This guy's an absolute tank. He's massive. Austrian. Dude, this guy will come in here and he will get it done for the Bengals. I wouldn't be surprised if Raymond went higher in the 20s, to be honest, when all said and done. But if the Bengals can get a Kenyon Green, a Bernard Raymond at where they are right now, I do think this is probably where they're going to settle in the dust, given the fact that I have the Chiefs winning this game. But this is perfect. This is perfect. I like Bucky Brooks' draft a lot so far. Miami Dolphins taking Nakobe Dean, linebacker. And honestly, this description, high IQ linebacker, spectacular leader, sideline to sideline, playmaker in the middle, is probably like the exact thing I've been saying about this guy over the past couple weeks. And that's only to say that like this is a dude who is respected across like people doing what I'm doing right now. Like everybody has kind of the same analysis of Nakobe Dean. He is a surefire draft pick linebacker who is going to start day one. His leadership is going to be amazing. That was one thing that stood out to me. And his ability to come in there and play the most intelligent spot on that linebacking crew because he's got to lead and he's got to call out a bunch of different shit. This would be good for the Dolphins. I think you've got a lot more needs, but I mean, if you guys have been paying attention, linemen are going like hotcakes, right? A lot of linemen have already gone. It's really shitty for the Dolphins here. I mean, it sucks because they've got this 49ers pick, which went from being like a very good draft pick to being like as dog shit as you can possibly get. I mean, 30th, man. Did we really see that coming? I think the Dolphins might just trade out at this point. I mean, that sucks for them. I get it. You got to take best player available. In my mock draft, I had them taking Devin Lloyd. So just a reverse, right, on which linebacker goes first. But I like this pick. Let's see here. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Spencer, bro. Dude, great call there, man. Great call there. Who's drafting John Dawson? I'm drafting John Dawson. If I get a chance to draft John Dawson, I'm doing it. We talked about it, guys. This is a Big Ben type of player. Maybe that's who's taking over for the Steelers. Sup, Steven? There was a trade in the Dynasty League. What do you think? Kyler? Oh, fantasy implications, guys. You know that's what we do with the catch. Kyler and Cup. All right, hold on a second. Kyler and Cup. What? This is fake, right? Kyler and Cup for Mike Davis, Minshew, Troutman. Okay, here comes the value. 2023 first and second, and 2024 first and second. 10-team Superflex. Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, to me, this is all right. So it depends on what you want, right? And first off, I don't know if this is for you, Ryan. I'm assuming this is just it happened in the league. I don't hate it or love it because it's very clear that people are going for different things. One team is going for rebuild and he's sacrificing the season, and one person is loading up for the season. So I think the guy who got Kyler and Cup, I mean, you're getting my QB2 and you're getting my wide receiver 1, and you're getting to pair that up. So I think that's absolutely a steal. I mean, Cooper Kupp's going to be a first-round draft pick. So yeah, that is going to put you in a position where you can absolutely win your championship potentially if you draft well accordingly and have a good season. But on the other side, you're giving up a lot of future capital, right? And it's always hard because you get caught up in the short stuff and what's going on right now. But man, you're going to really wish you had those draft picks in the future. And a first and second is very valuable. But you can also get some gems, right? I mean, we saw just how impressive it is. You can get a guy like a Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp in later rounds, and they're going to pan out the receiver position. You can get a guy like Leonard Fournette, James Conner at running back, and they're going to pan out. And even at quarterback, I mean, you can see that honestly, the more I evaluate this, I kind of like the guy getting all the draft picks because one or two guys, I get it, is like it's big, but when you can get draft picks and you can also just start off later, I don't know. I mean, it makes sense. So I like the trade. I like the fact that people are thinking strategically and kind of saying, all right, we're going to sacrifice now for more later. That's what you see a lot in Dynasty. What are your thoughts on it, Ron? Goddard is a keep for next season. Will the Eagles be a better team after the draft, or should I get rid of Goddard before it's too late? LOL, John taking over for Big Ben spot. Good question, Jerry. I think they're going to be much better. I think with Jalen Hurts having another year to improve and in this Nick Sirianni system, I think he's going to be better. I think that they are going to invest more in the offense. Perfect timing, Ronald. How do you think the Eagles are going to be next year? What do you think of Dallas Goedert next year? That's the question Jerry just asked. I do think Dallas Goedert is somebody you need to hold on to next year. I think he's going to be a really good tight end. I wouldn't get out on him early. Let me know, Ronald, though. I think you talked about Dallas Goedert last night. Detroit Lions, David Bell, wide receiver for Purdue. I talked about him maybe, going a little bit earlier because Tampa Bay Bucks were on the clock. I think David Bell is a good fit for the Rams. I mean, for the Lions, excuse me. They got this pick from the Rams. Article states here, perfect, ultra productive pass catcher. Doesn't really do anything outstandingly, but he can play in a lot of different spots and he can play with high route running skills. Stuff I heard about this guy was just that he does separate himself from an old Purdue player, Rondale Moore, and the fact that he's not a guy that needs to get the work done after he catches the ball. This is a guy who, with his route running and with what he can do when the ball is not in his hands, also separates him, and that's what makes him a first-round talent. I think David Bell is going to be very productive in the NFL, and I think the Lions could really improve the receiving core. I think you could also take a couple looks elsewhere. I mean, the corner position as well, get better there, continue building this defense. But when you're the Lions, I mean, you're in a rebuild, tons of things you can do. I would take a receiver here. It does make sense. Kansas City Chiefs, Daxton Hill, DB from Michigan. This guy is an absolutely dominant safety. I love this guy. I think he'd be really good playing. He can play a lot of different positions, honestly. And playing in that Steve Spagnuolo system, just like the article says, great fit. I like Daxton Hill here a lot. What's interesting about this mock draft, guys, to close up the review of this, is that we see similarities for a majority of this draft. between him and Daniel Jeremiah, which makes sense, but no Jamison Williams, the receiver from Alabama, who I talked about, who could have had the biggest fantasy impact if he was healthy. This guy would have been the number one pick for sure, potentially top 7 pick. I mean, the guy was outstanding. If you haven't already seen him, go check his tape out. The guy's a beast. But that means somebody in the second round is going to get this guy. Wow, that would be crazy. It's interesting. I mean, teams, they do not like injuries, especially the fact that you got to draft a guy and sit on him for so long. But let me just be honest, guys. In my opinion, I think he's going before this even too. But if I'm the Chiefs, I'm taking Jamison Williams. And if I'd even reach as far back to say if I'm the Dolphins or if I am even the Bills here, I'd consider Jamison Williams. Green Bay Packers, especially too, if you can bring back Aaron Rodgers. Some of these later pick teams that need receivers or could use another player to make them more dominant. I mean, imagine Jamison Williams is a ultra deep threat and amazing route running. Speed is insane. Imagine another insanely talented player for this Kansas City Chiefs offense. I mean, disgusting. Disgusting. All right, guys, I'm going to take a quick look at the Senior Bowl running back roster. Jerry was talking about the running backs, any Najee Harris potentials coming out this year, which I answered with no. But real quickly, I'm going to get to the chat. All right. Yo, I think Goddard is the wide receiver 2 on the team, and I think he should be much higher than people have him. Yeah, I mean, I think we looked at PFF's grades on their fantasy projections right now, and Goddard was pretty shitted on in terms of the tight end position. I like him a lot too, Ronald. I picked up Goddard in the 8th round, so I'll be missing out on my 7th round pick if I keep him. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the fact that you have to keep him and lose that draft pick makes me have a little second thoughts because I'm not too sure he's that valuable. Ronald, you might hate me for that, but tight end is a position where if you don't get one of those top 4, maybe 5, which Goddard maybe could do, guys, you're really just targeting some dart throws, right? And I don't necessarily want to do that in round 6 to 7. I kind of want to do that in rounds 8 to 10. So it's really just a strategy call at that point. But I don't hate that. I mean, the fact that you're getting Dallas Goedert, who is a starter for a good offense and is used like a wide receiver 2, it's definitely a solid play. I do think that, I mean, Ronald talks about him being the wide receiver 2. That's currently, but I do think they're going to invest in the receiver position in the draft. I would take Goddard over Waller. I have Kelsey, Andrews, Kittle, Pitts ahead of him, but I would take him over Waller and Hawkinson and Knox. That's interesting, man. I can't wait to do some fantasy mock drafts with you once things really start heating up and we start looking at things like that more and more, because right now at the tight end position, I don't have him that high. I've definitely got Kelsey, Andrews, Pitts, Kittle ahead of him. I've got Hawkinson ahead of him, and I've got Waller ahead of him now. I like Knox a lot, dude. Knox is definitely ahead of him. I like Knox as being a player that I'm targeting a lot in this next season and trying to pair him up with Josh Allen. That is an absolute strategy I'm trying to do next year. What's up, Jerry? I did not get the notifications this time. I hate that. Ronald, I use the add everyone button too. Guys, if you are in the chat, by the way, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and join the Discord, right? I was just talking about it with Ronald. I dropped it in the Discord. I always give you guys some updates on when I'll be jumping in. John does as well when he is able to jump in. I'll be able to have a solid pick in those later rounds. Yeah, you will. You will. I don't think it matters who is there right now. I think Goddard will be the wide receiver 2 because he's the wide receiver 1 right now. Yeah, he is. I mean, Devontae Smith, low production at times because of lack of target. So I get what you're saying. I might be able to use Goddard as my tight end 1 and use my earlier picks in other positions. You definitely should not value the tight end in your top early picks. We've not seen it pan out too well unless you hit on a guy like Kelsey or you hit on we saw it this year, right? People went out and grabbed Waller early, and I don't think it really panned out, right? Hawkinson, you were able to get in the 6th round, and that worked out tremendously. I like Hawkinson just for the target volume he's going to see. But I think Goddard is a good tight end 1. Yeah, I do agree with you. Ronald. Philly has always been a tight end heavy team. They have, right? And hopefully they don't reinforce that position. Hopefully they don't draft any more tight ends. That would piss me off because there are some good tight ends in this draft. All right. Let's get into these running backs real quickly before I get head out, guys. Hassan Haskins, Michigan running back. Really like this guy, but he's more of a bruiser. 6'1" power back. Lots of upside if he can ever get that passing game down. Didn't see any pass catching work. I mean, this was much. He is a 2-down back. And that's just not relevant in today's game. That's why, I liked him a lot at Michigan. I thought he was a strong reason for why they were so good. But Hassan Haskins beat up on some teams, but his lack of pass catching work really worries me, and that's why there's no clear first round runner or first round running back. But more than that, too, I do think that Hassan Haskins, he can show over the offseason that he is somebody that can pass catch. And so in the Senior Bowl, especially too, if he gets a chance to show his hands, that could be something that really does kind of elevate his draft stock. See, there's got a little clip here. Brian Robinson Jr., Alabama running back. I like him. I think he's a guy who's going to slip in the rounds, maybe see like a third round talent. But coming into the Senior Bowl, he'll be able to prove what he can do, right? Alabama running back school for sure produces these guys. Look at him, 230 pounds. He's a big boy. But, didn't see a whole lot of work, didn't see a whole lot of production, didn't even really get the chance to play till his senior year. And even then, he didn't really have a ton of production. But we saw him be very, very needed for this Alabama run towards the back half of the year, right? He had like 200 yards against Cincinnati. I worry a little bit about his pass catching. But with that too, he's a really good pass blocker, which is valuable in the NFL. Damien Pierce, Florida guy with very, very little production too. But when I listen to a lot of specialists in the game and scouts and analysts, they like this guy a lot. Like he's one of their favorite running backs this draft, just because of the fact that he is such a good back in terms of his skills and vision, right? Which is something kind of hard to, I guess, pick up on tape, but he's got it, right? Damien Pierce for me, I think is going to be a later round draft pick, but I think if somebody gets him, this back out of Florida, I think he's going to be really good. So definitely keep an eye on this guy in the Senior Bowl, guys. And I can't hit the table enough about this. Watch the Senior Bowl. I'll definitely be doing lots of recap on this, but the practice is like, honestly, I love Senior Bowl practice. I get like off. This stuff is hype, man. I love the Senior Bowl practice. Up next, I'm not going to go through all of these, by the way, guys. They actually do list quite a bit of running backs. Jerome Ford, though, from Cincinnati was a really good back, pro type of build. James Cook, Georgia running back, I'm absolutely going to talk about here. I talked about him actually a little bit last night. Very much so like a mini Dalvin Cook, his little brother. He's very good, right? Really, really, really good pass catcher. I think he was the second leading receiver for the Georgia Bulldogs, which is mad impressive, dude. I mean, that's really impressive. We saw this guy too in the back half of the season have some really explosive plays. I like him a lot. He's a little bit slighter frame than his brother Dalvin, but shit, man, you get in the NFL, you get in the training camp there, you get into those locker rooms, you're gonna heavier, right? I think he's a little bit under 200 right now, but just wait till he hits the gym. He'll be up in the 200s, be right into that Dalvin Cook frame. His brother Dalvin didn't run even a 4.5. His brother Dalvin ran a 4.6. So James, I really want to see him run better than that though, because he is right now probably a third down back. But dude, honestly, the NFL kind of likes third down backs more than that right now. Abram Smith, Baylor running back, another bruiser, downhill runner. I like Baylor as a school a lot and what they've been able to do at the running back position. But I do think that this is a guy to keep an eye on in the Senior Bowl. We'll see. He's not one of my favorite backs, but definitely a gritty, hard-nosed runner. Rashad White, Arizona State running back. This is a guy who had a lot of good production there, and I like him as well. Definitely take a peek to him. This is a dude who I do think could be going in the third round, right? So to answer Jerry's question a little bit, there's no Najee Harris this year, and obviously this is just the senior, so there's some other backs too. But there's no real running back that stands out to me as being the absolute guy you need to go after this year in fantasy drafts. But after the scouting combine, after the Senior Bowl, after offseason, we're definitely going to have a better look. And more than anything, what matters most is where they wind up, right? What team they get to. Also, guys, just before we close up the stream, which, man, I said it was going to be 20 minutes. I'm just having so much fun with you guys. So I'm going to keep going for a little bit longer. Just going to take a look at a couple things I saw. Final rookie rankings. ESPN dropped this, going in order of top 10. I'm just going to give my insight into a couple of these guys. Micah Parsons, linebacker, no surprise, at number 1. Mac Jones, number 2. Rashawn Slater, number 3. Creed Humphrey, center for the Chiefs. Not talked about a whole lot because he's a center, but that's exactly what Tyler Linderbaum can do, the center out of Iowa. He can have that kind of impact. Jamar Chase, number 5. Kyle Pitts, 6. Patrick Surtain, 7. Jalen Waddle, 8. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, which I pronounced incorrectly, for the Browns, linebacker. He's amazing. I think he came from Penn State. We all kind of knew he was going to be good, but he played really well for them. And then Javon Holland, safety for the Dolphins. He's gotten a lot of buzz. So in a fantasy 2021 lesson, opportunity over talent. We definitely saw that in 2021. Sometimes opportunity is more impressive to go and grab because talent sometimes doesn't pay out. Injuries, who knows? Another one, unknown does not equal upside, right? Example being Laviska Shenault, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, if it's unknown, if it's sexy, sometimes it's not always a good thing, right? Sometimes the known is better. Good offenses, greater sign. Hell yeah, man. Good offenses, I'm going to be targeting a lot more than they have done in the past. That's going to be probably one of the main things I go after. I mean, we saw all the Bills players are good. All the Bengals players are good. Chiefs, they're weird, right? But they do have some really good guys. Packers, I mean, you look at it every year, a lot of the top players come from very good offenses. Handcuff running backs, something I've been preaching for a long time. I believe Ronald is also really deep into. Really paid out in spades this year with all the injuries. And I think you guys need to look at the handcuff running back spot and handcuffs in general more going forward. And then patience. Yeah, fuck patience. Now, I need more patience in my daily life, right? But I do think patience, like with a guy like Amon St. Brown, really did pay out. Rashawn Bateman for a couple games too. All right, here. Let's see. There was also something else I wanted to show here. Yes, I wanted to show you guys this just because of some of the other guys we've seen come out of the school and how much I do like this edge rusher from Penn State. I can't, there's so many guys I can't say the names for, but the dude's a beast, right? So over the past few years since 2019, we have seen some really dominant pass rushers from Penn State. Yatur Gross-Matos had an 81.8 pass rush grade from PFF. He was dominant. He's been great in the NFL. Adofe Awe, 2019, hit an 81.8 grade, went to Baltimore and was an absolutely electric player for Baltimore, was an amazing rookie. Michael Parsons, 2019, had an 86.8 grade. We all know the story there. Defense Player of the Year type of worthy season. Guess what, though, guys? Arnold Abikiti, 2021 season, 90.5 PFF grade pass rushing performance for Penn State. Keep an eye on this dude. I talked about it in one of my mock drafts that he could be a guy that goes in the first round. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And I will nail down his name too because he's so damn good. All right, guys, before I leave, I'm going to get in the chat real quick. We had a couple regulars jump in. I think John's in the chat right now, so got to say what's up. I don't know if you saw the earlier message, but since he was 8th round, I'll miss out my 7th round. Yeah, I think Goddard in the 7th, so you can't worry and use your other picks to running backs and wide receiver. Yeah, I mean, Goddard in the 7th isn't really bad, actually, and there's 6 picks where you can get better there. Don't listen to them, Jerry. Draft a tight end in round 1 and round 2, and keep Goddard. Follow your heart. Yeah, the tight end position is very keen to John's heart. But depends on who else you can keep when you keep a first rounder. If you can't hurt, because you would get some value at that pick if you just draft that pick. I can only keep players that were drafted after the 6th round, and they must be in your team at the end of the season. I like that. Hey, it's John, aka Thrift Shop Gaming, aka The Catch, aka the guy who runs on No Sleep, aka Superman, aka the greatest dad I know. Steven, run a 24-hour stream. I want to hear your voice. Yeah, John, I would if I, honestly, once I maybe invest in like a Madden type of streaming system where I can play it, I think me and you should run a 24-hour stream, maybe when our wives and girlfriends aren't around, so that they don't hate us. And Lily now, because now you've got, much more responsibilities than just wife and girlfriend, right? All right, I drafted him in the 7th this year, actually, and did not regret it at all. Yeah, you liked him all year, brother. What if I kept Goddard and used my first or second round to get Kelsey? I'm not too sure. I like that personally. I don't love 2 tight ends. He has as many boom weeks as the other big tight ends and all the tight ends. Even Kelsey was dropping duds this year. Yeah, that's why I don't love tight ends. Bears go with another defensive-minded coach. Yeah, I saw that, John. Great point out there. Taking Matt Eberflus, our defensive coordinator, that's going to crush us next year, I think. And that's great for the Bears. To be honest, I see their fantasy implications of this too. I think the Colts slide. I think I had them at like number 4 or 5 in my fantasy way too early rankings. And I think the Bears rise. They've got a lot of talent there. Cleo Mack coming back from injury. Raekwon Smith, the linebacker. Eddie Jackson at safety. A lot of young talent. I think this defense as well, if they invest in the draft, Bears could be back, baby, next year. Imagine your last name being Beatty. Yeah, I get you. Wait, what? Everyone tweets Steven 24-hour stream. Steven doing 24-hour stream. I don't have a Twitter either, Ronald. I kind of want to get one now, just for this, just for the catch. Also, make sure to check the description and sign my No John petition. If anyone tweets something interesting, people will post it on Facebook. Interesting. I'm not a big fan of that either. If it wasn't for John, we wouldn't all be here. But yeah, no John. That is true, man. John, we need you back here. I can't wait until we get a stream together, dude. Love you, man. I only have Instagram. I don't use any other social. I'm just teasing you, John. Yeah, we need to get definitely over the off season, kind of when we free up a little bit more time. John and I are going to be looking a little bit at the social media. I think that'll also be kind of a year 2 rollout as well. But social media, something that is really good. Another way, I mean, guys, we already have the Discord. If you're watching this and you're a first time viewer, hit that Discord and join, get a lot of community updates. But there's other ways too, right? Social media, Insta, Twitter, we can do it all. I don't preach patience at all. People drop those guys just intention to try to catch breakouts before they happen. I don't want to hold anyone I can't play at all on my bench, but everyone plays different. People keep telling me my ways of the past. There's a new way of fantasy, but I don't buy it. I don't really like the patience one either. I just had to point it out from the article, but patience for me is incorrect. I think you're right. I think it's more about reading things into before they happen, right? But sometimes holding on to assets and cluttering up your bench is kind of a pain in the ass. Me personally, one that I might be looking at next year, which I think Made for TV pointed out, was maybe having 2 defenses, always a defense ready to stream. AB to Ravens. That'll be interesting. But yes. Then defense, keep Goddard, then Jerry. Let's quit our job, Steven. The catch is all we need. I hope so. I hope we can do it one day. Imagine all the time we'd have to invest into this. John is talking crazy right now. Go to sleep, John. John's probably running on 0 right now. Catch fan forever. I just woke up. I love you, man. Love you, man. Thank you for getting in the chat. It's good they hired a D head coach because that means you're a real OC and you need the head coach not to call plays. Yeah, Matt Nagy. Thankfully, he's gone. I miss watching John rage quit on Madden. Dude, I rage quit on Madden the other day. Got my ass beat by the Packers with the Lions. So can't really say I'm that surprised, though. Can't really say I'm that surprised. I mean, it's not unlike the Detroit Lions to get smoked, especially by their, their rival, the Packers. But with that said, guys, I'm going to start winding down. I'm going to head off. It was fun tonight. Hung on a lot longer than I thought I was going to hang on tonight, but that's what happens. Things are fun, right? Things are fun. Chat's fun. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Join the Catch fam, guys. Come in here, chat every single time we're streaming. Might try to get back on one more time this week, but if not, I'll be back next week. And when you guys come in here, man, I just really appreciate all the help you guys have been doing and just kind of being there, chatting. I love that. I love to see the energy you guys are giving. If you guys are watching this retrospectively, make sure to leave some comments. about what prospects you like, what teams are your favorites, so that I can give you some analysis on what I think your team should get. But also too, like any reaction to what's going on in the NFL right now, or any fantasy early buzz. I saw Ryan come out with a great question earlier about a dynasty implication in his league. Definitely, let's do that, man. Let's drop those questions. But yeah, guys. Love you all. Have a great rest of your weeks. I'm gonna get some buffalo wings in me. Where it is from, I don't know yet. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And I'll give you a little quick peek at my hair situation right now before I sign off. It's getting real gross. That is sweat right there. So shout out Ronald. That's not showering. That's keeping my hair together, guys. I'm gonna definitely put his hat back on. Right. All right, guys. Love you guys. Have a great one. Have a great week.